Okay, so this is a video covering the T-34-85. We're going to mount the turret. So we're going to give it a turret post. And we're also going to carve and mount the gun on the turret. So first thing you want to start with, might as well start with mounting the turret here. It's a pretty simple operation. Just cut maybe 1.5 centimeters to 2 centimeter chunk of bamboo skewer. And sharpen it a little bit at each end. It doesn't have to be much. Just thin it down a little bit on both ends. And before we install it, you just want to look along the back of the turret here and trim anything along the bottom that isn't completely flat, or else this stuff is going to catch on the turret or the hull detailing. So you just need to remove as much as you can get away with, really, off the back of this. And even if you're quite aggressive, it's unnoticeable if you can see from there. But it just makes it so it doesn't catch on this detailing here. Okay, now that we've got that done, just put a little bit of glue on these ends. And you want to make sure the turret post is straight up and down. And that it will fit inside the body of the vehicle, so you don't want it too long. And you can just kind of store it there. I wouldn't press it all the way down, or you'll get bonding between the turret and the hull. So now we can leave that for a bit and go ahead and start carving the gun. Now with this particular gun, there's no real, it's tapered, but there's no size changes, so it's a little bit simpler to carve than some of the other guns. You just want to take the template picture. Now, you don't have to cut out or glue this down or anything like that. You're just marking the length of the gun that's exposed. I'm just going to carry that line around the whole circumference of the skewer. And when you select your skewer, you want to make sure that you have straight grain and the section that you're carving the gun from is straight. So you don't want something sort of lumpy or warped at all. So I'm going to take this scraper blade and I'm just going to roll it along that mark we made. And I'm going to start carving. And so we're just trying to taper it gently. So you're not going to be able to see me do this, but after every one of these strokes with the knife, I'm going to spin the skewer a little bit and just reduce its size generally and try to be even. Now you don't have to be super exact, because once we've got our basic shape started and formed about the right size, we use sandpaper to round it nicely. So while you do want to have it as close to round as possible, you don't need to go super out of your way to try to make it perfectly round. So generally your knife is going to have to spend a lot longer towards the tip than it will towards the main body. And you can trim back this way, but you don't want to do, especially once you've got it starting to get towards the size that you're looking for. If you back cut like this, you'll get in under the grain because it's tapering this way, and you'll lift a whole lot more material than you want to. So if you are gonna back cut, do short strokes so you don't get caught under the grain and lift up a whole lot of wood. Just try to keep your strokes consistent and keep moving the skewer around. Now, when I first started making these guns, I had to make a lot more than just one before I was particularly happy with it. I think I was making 2 to 3 guns per vehicle, and then choosing the one I liked the best. It does take some practice to get used to this. Now, I would recommend that you just use this template as a length guide and a general size guide, but don't be too much married to it. It is kind of like between plastic models you can buy in the store, 1 to 72, the gun variation in diameter is incredible. Like, it's like they just don't know at all what the gun looked like or something like that. So you can just kind of, if you get it to look nice and it seems right to you, you should be okay. So I'm getting close to where I want to be. I'd like the tapering to be a little bit more even, but we can do that with sandpaper. So I got a tiny little square of sandpaper. And one good trick you can do is if you have anything you have to do that you can see, oh, this definitely has to come down a bit, or there's a ridge here, then you can use the sandpaper like that. But the way I like to use it mostly is to kind of make a pocket around the gun, then just spin the gun under the sandpaper. And you should be able to, with some time and lots of pressure, just round the gun quite nicely with that. It should get rid of most of the inconsistencies and give you a fairly nice round shape. And as a final touch, just flatten the end nicely here, the tip of the gun. And take our 1/16 bit, and we're just going to put a small concave end on there. And it just looks that much better when you paint it, so it is worth doing. Now be careful, because if you go too deep you'll start splitting off one of the sides and it won't look even anymore or flatter. You may even have to cut a small portion flat and restart this, so don't go too deep. Just get that little bit of concave so you can put a little bit of black paint in there, and it will look fine at the end. Okay, so now I want to cut some of this. So maybe give it a centimeter after the size change. So I've scored it here, and either keep scoring it until it basically falls right off, or use pliers to pull it off, because otherwise you put pressure on this point and you could break it there, which is not fun, especially after your gun is finished. So I definitely recommend leaving it on the skewer while you're carving it though, so it's a lot easier to grip if you've left it like that. So sharpen that up a little bit. Take your turret, and I'm gonna have to expand this hole again. We did punch it out earlier, but it has it's gotten a patch on there and some other stuff, so just bore that out again. And here's the gun. So you want to leave a little bit of the size change on the outside. So I'd say, well, it's on the template. Here we go. I'll even just mark it right on here. As I suggest you do that as well. Just mark how much of that material to leave on the outside of the turret and how much to insert. And so let's get some glue in there. Did I erase my pencil mark? No, there it is. Okay, so that's about right. Now you want to make sure you've got your elevation of the gun that you wanted, and for sure it needs to be pointed straight. So it'll look way more wrong if it's pointed like this than if it's a little up or a little down. I mean, you had control of the gun up and down, but you didn't have it side to side, so be very careful on that one. And just don't be afraid to adjust it for a while until you're happy. And then just leave that to dry. We're getting there. Looks like it's starting to look like a tank now. Anyways.